There's a lot to say about Charlaine, and I'm only going to say a little bit because we'll be speaking and she'll get to answer those questions. But she was born and raised in the Mississippi River Delta area, which to me is so exotic. I mean, it really is a New York guy. She is, as all of you know, the New York Times best-selling author. She's been writing for 30 years. The Sookie Stackhouse series, which I'm sure most of you, or many of you, watch as True Blood on HBO. She's been nominated for lots of mystery awards and is a member of the Mystery Writers of America, American Crime Writers League, Sisters in Crime, International Crime Writers Association, and Science Fiction Writers and Horror Writers Association. You just wanted to make sure you were.
I wanted to make the rounds.
Okay. I will admit two things: that I read my first Charlaine Harris book, which was Dead Until Dark, that's the first series. And I was hooked. I've been reading them ever since. And the second thing I shouldn't admit, but I actually sort of met Charlaine on a sex panel at VoucherCon many years ago. And what I remember from that is that we each read sex scenes, and I didn't really know Charlaine. And she was reading this scene, and I just kind of like, really? I mean, anyway, that didn't have the effect that it did in my head at the moment, because that's like sort of not hearing the scene. But anyhow, many of the people in our audience, Charlaine, are writers or aspiring writers, and so I'm going to ask a lot of questions about writing, but I'll move into other things
Okay.
as well. So I know that you wrote quite a few books before Sookie Stackhouse. We will get to that and to True Blood, and you had two series before, correct?
Yes, I did. I had two standalones, and then I wrote two series. One about a librarian in Georgia, which I totally picked the state where she lived out of a hat. When my editor then called me and she said, for the book jacket, we need to know where she lives. And I said, Georgia.
But wait a minute, you didn't have that before?
No, I didn't want to pin it down to the state because I can't remember what my thinking was then. This was like when dinosaurs ruled the earth. But I didn't want to, but I had to. And then I wrote a much shorter edge series because I got tired of the noir guys' total lack of respect for women who wrote cozy mysteries.
Okay, but I wanted to ask you about a series. Why write a series? A lot of people ask that question and do write series or think about writing a series. How do you keep a series fresh? Why don't you answer those, and then I have other things.
I think you keep a series fresh by constantly discovering things about the characters. There should be a constant stream of, not necessarily revelations about the character, but of exposing layers of the character that people haven't seen before. So either you know the character very, very well before you start writing, or you know the character has secrets, and as you discover them, the reader does too. I think that's the way, and I think you need to keep challenging your protagonist also with situations that make him or her uncomfortable, thrown off balance, fish out of water, because that's the way you learn what they really have inside.
I didn't get to say how thrilled I was that Charlaine was here. I just realized that. So I'm just flipping back and say how thrilled I am that Charlaine is here in New York with us. Well, the Sookie Stackhouse books, of which I've read, all of them, all feel like they could be standalone books. I mean, they all are unique within themselves, right? Would you say that?
Well, that was my goal, but I found after I'd probably written the 6th or 7th that I had to stop reading criticism of the books. Because for every constructive criticism, there would be someone who was very upset that the characters weren't doing what they wanted them to do.
Well, people are always upset about that. You know, but
I had never experienced that before. I mean, as far as I was concerned, nobody ever cared what I did with my characters. But suddenly with Sookie, when she caught fire, everyone had emotional investment in her, and they had very deep opinions, sometimes bordering on really scary, as to how she should conduct herself and with whom.
And dude, yes, I think people get very invested in one's fictional characters, and you have to remind readers often that, well, this person doesn't really exist. So, but wait till you kill somebody they love. I mean, you have, and then you're always in trouble. But I do feel that your books are contained. Maybe it's because they're also mysteries.
They all do have a murder in them because I come from the mystery field. I wrote mysteries for many years, and that's the genre where I really feel at home. This year, in a crazy moment, I got elected president of Mystery Writers of America. So I think it's like their bold step to maybe elect someone who has a cross-genre appeal rather than only a mystery appeal. Of course, they may just have all been afflicted with some kind of mind fart, but...
Well, you talk, does everyone here who reads a lot of crime fiction and knows all these various genres that Charlaine is talking about, that things break down into cozies and hard-boiled and thrillers, and you're talking about cross-genre, and will you cross several?
I do, and that was a conscious decision on my part. I was considering my career when I was, oh my gosh, I could see 50 coming. Of course, I'm way past that now. I'm into the other decade. But I was thinking, I've never made my mark. My books have sold, but, I've gotten cut here. I've had to move a series there. I lost a paperback deal here. Mostly my editors kept quitting.
Mm.
And finally I thought, if not now, when? This is pretty much it. How many more productive years do I have to make it? If I ever want to go further up the ladder, I thought, oh, if only I could make $70,000 a year. I would be so happy. That would just be perfect. And I'm way past that now. It was just incredible to see the Sookie books catch hold. When I was thinking about them, I thought, if I'm going to write something, I want it to be based in mystery, but it would be fun if it crossed a genre and I drew in the science fiction readers, and if it was gory enough, maybe some horror readers, though I'm not nearly gory enough for them. And if I wrote an explicit sex scene, maybe I could get the romance readers too. And it worked, though it might as easily not have. Almost no one was doing this then, except Laurel K. Hamilton. And I thought, I just feel like that would be a great way to go. And it just worked out very well.
I have a question for you. So you had this conscious sort of decision of pulling these genres together.
Yeah.
But wasn't there some resistance to the first to selling the first Sookie Stackhouse book?
Now I've had the same agent my entire career. That is, I've had him longer than I've had my daughter. Yeah, which is very, very unusual, as I'm sure most of you realize. But he didn't like the book.
Oh,
No, he didn't. He didn't. I'd never tried to be funny before, and the book is really pretty funny. I think so. And he said, I didn't think vampires were such a hoot. And I said, but they are. Anything is funny if you attack it in the correct manner. And the book was very funny, but he didn't like it. But he said, if you really, really want me to, I'll try to sell this book. I will. I said, okay. 2 years. Took 2 years. It got turned down. I don't know how many times, really. I finally told him, I said, don't send me the rejection letters. they're too mean. I don't want to read them. But when he finally did sell it, he sold it to John Morgan at Ace. John Morgan left Ace, but he's back at Ace now. But Ginger Buchanan is my editor now, and it just all came together, and it all worked from the first book on. People really sold it by word of mouth. The cover was unusual, the treatment was unusual, and for some reason, I just hit it at the right time.
During that 2-year period, did you have doubts that it was going to get sold and that you made this mistake?
No? I'm not much for regret and reflection professionally. Plenty personally, but not professionally. I've always just had this blind faith that everything would be okay.
It's good. No, it's the right.
It's naive and crazy, but that's the way I am.
No, I think you have to be like that. You have to assume that you're just going to do it.
Yeah.
But so, do you think that, I don't really want to talk that much about business, but we'll get back to it, but that editors were resistant because they didn't know how to categorize the book?
They didn't know where it would be shelved in bookstores. I'm thinking, everywhere. Put it at the front of the store on a big table. That was my thinking.
Well, Susan Orleans, the orchid thief, was always put in the gardening section.
Well, some stores put Dead Until Dark because of the cartoon cover. They put it in the children's section.
Whoa! That's a lot of happy kids when they got that book in them.
Really. Just a very strange situation.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you something about, Sookie Stackhouse books are first person point of view.
Yeah.
And is that the way you're most comfortable writing?
I couldn't write her unless I wrote her first person. I tried to write, there have been other series I tried to write in first person, it didn't work. Sometimes I switch in the middle to see whose voice is coming through better, depending on the person. My next series will not be first person, because though it gives you a lot of depth, it also means you have to skip a lot of narrative that would inform the reader, since you can only see what's happening from her point of view. And that can lead to some gut-wrenching problems in plotting, if all you see is what she does. And believe me, planning a murder mystery around a woman who can read minds is not easy anyway. Because you always go, well, she should have known. She can read minds. Why didn't she know? So working around that was a real challenge too.
You said, I'm going to just following you, but you said your next series, you're not talking about the one that's already in existence, but about a new one?
A new one, yeah.
A new one. Yeah. So you do like the series. For you, it's comfortable to keep going in the series.
Well, this will be the last Sookie. This May will be the last Sookie novel, because I just ran out of things to say about her. And I just thought it would be doing my readers a real disservice. I'm not trying to sound like St. Charlaine, but I value my readers, and I would not like to give them something that I thought was inferior.
So you sort of felt, did you feel the end of the series coming, that you had,
yes, and I was so glad to see it.
Really?
I was like, oh, please. But I could see the writing on the wall, and I was just so ready. It's like actors always saying, I just want to direct. Having finished this series, which has been incredibly successful by any standards, and has made me, I've had experiences I would never have had otherwise if I hadn't written these books. It's opened so many doors for me. It's just been amazing. But all I thought was, oh God, I want to write something different.
Yeah. Well, some of us will be sad, but we'll read the other ones. I mean, I'm reading the new ones. But staying with kind of just technical things, I read somewhere that I had the feeling that the way you said you followed your characters. So do you not outline? How do you work?
This is the bad part. I don't outline.
No. Why is it bad?
Because for me, I tried it. But for me, it was like painting by numbers. You know, it just made it so boring. I love the seat of the pants feeling where you just turn on your computer and go, what's going to happen today? You know, I have no idea. And that's, to me, that's the fun, thrilling part of it. Can I pull it out of my head again? You know, for 6 more pages today? Can I do it?
Well, it is sort of the thrilling part about about writing and the creative act and having those things happen. And I said to somebody who outlines extensively, I said, well, what if you took those characters and they were in a different room, in a different situation, would they really say the same things? So I'm always surprised. I mean, I don't know how people see, so I don't think you said, for me personally, the wrong thing. But there are people who outline, I know, to death and believe and
more
feel
power
lost
to
without it. And,
there's just no one way to write a book.
No, I agree. So then, when you, I'm going to follow that a little bit though. So you're writing. Do you have then an overriding idea for a particular plot idea that you want to explore, and then you let it happen, or you just pick it up and you're moving along?
You know, usually I don't. But the last few books, you know, the ante has risen up so much on these books. There's a big investment in them all the way along the line, which I have to respect. And weirdly, my publisher wanted to know what the book was going to be about. So I had to sit down and write like a summary of what the book would be about for the past, you know, probably the past 3 or 4 books. And for me, that was just excruciating because I didn't know what it was going to be about, but I had to go on and decide. So I thought, well, there were so many different threads in the Sookie world by that time. I thought, okay, what's going to happen with the werewolves? What's going to happen with the vampires? What's going to happen with Sookie? Who's going to get killed? Which is always, you know, that's my way of escalating the tension in a book. I just kill someone else.
Did you find that was helpful, or did you not stay with those real summaries?
I did mostly. I did. Not that they would have been upset if I hadn't. I don't think. But looking at my publicist here, she's going, "No, that would be okay."
We probably would have forgiven.
Yeah. Good to know. But I did because I found it actually kind of helpful to know where I was heading.
Yeah, that's what I wonder. You create a kind of amazing, wonderful world. I think it's one of the things that that I like the thing I liked so much right away in the first book I read. And you use a real part of the world, but then you create a fictional town.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how that came to be a little bit?
Sure, because I actually know the answer to that question. You know, I'm sure you've all read Anne Rice, or most of you have read Anne Rice. Well, you know, what she did with the southern part of Louisiana was fabulous. But the southern part of Louisiana is the picturesque part. You know, that's where they've got the Spanish moss and the above ground tombs and all the colorful stuff that makes Louisiana in most people's minds. Well, the northern part is just like southern Arkansas. You know, what can I say? I lived in southern Arkansas for 20 years. It's just farming country. And I thought, you know, as kind of a reverse homage to Anne, what if I took the northern part, the part she didn't want, and do something fun with it? And I'll tell you, one of the weirdest things about being me is that Anne Rice asked me if I'd be her friend on Facebook.
Did you accept it?
I did. I have her phone number. Is that power?
Well, you could divvy it up kind of geography.
Yeah, we divided up Louisiana.
Right. I think. Do you? Okay, I got lost when I was thinking about Anne Rice. Can you tell us, since it sounds to me like you did sit down and think about a variety of things that you wanted to do in these books, how you came up with a telepathic cocktail waitress?
I do know the answer to that. I wanted my heroine to be blue collar because I wanted her to have access to a wide variety of people in a social setting. And to me, the answer to that was a bar. And there are plenty of bars in Louisiana. And then I thought, but there has to be a reason she's so excited to see a vampire. Normally, a young woman, attractive as her and clever as she is, would stay away from doing something as stupid as dating a vampire because she had plenty of other human suitors and she wouldn't be too concerned about her dating future. So why has she not dated? You would not believe some of the handicaps I came up with for her, including a prosthetic leg, and just going on and on. And finally I thought, what is really the worst thing I could wish on anybody? Mind reading. Honestly, that would be such a terrible thing, a terrible curse. And I thought, okay, let's do that to her. Because I'm a big believer in doing the worst thing you can think of to your characters.
So that, okay, yeah, no, I love it. Okay, I want to continue. So all right, I have a whole bunch of questions and they're not in sequence and I was going to follow you. I think, would you agree that there are these larger issues in your books, like discrimination,
Yes.
violence, evil?
Yeah, there are definitely bigger themes in my book. And one of the most bizarre questions I get asked, when people say, did you know there's a lot about gay rights in your books? I go, yeah. Did you intend that? No, I'm completely taken by surprise. Of course I intended that. Of course I did. Jeez Louise. If you want to read the books on one level, to me they can be great adventures with a lot of humor, things that move really quickly. But if you want to read the other level, they're saying we're all not so different. Be tolerant of people who are not quite what you are. At least that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's very clear in the books. And I wonder if, when you said that, when somebody brings that up as if you don't know it, but do you come up against that with people? Do you find that there are people who get their back up about those issues in your books?
Amazingly, no. Or if I do, they're too polite to tell me about it, which I have a hard time believing. But I have met with, I hope people think twice a little. People who read the books and enjoy them will say, well, maybe she's got a point. Maybe it's not so bad to be gay. Maybe gay people are just like us, but gay. And I hope, I've met with a lot of acceptance, people in my signing lines who said, oh, thank you for including, this theme in your books. And I hope that I'm giving some people who might be teetering a little shove over in the right direction.
Yeah. In your newer series in Harper Connolly, would you say, I think she's a little bit more vulnerable than Sookie? And how, can you tell us how she came to that? Do you not agree with that?
In some ways, yes, but she has a rock on her side, her brother. I hate making little quote marks, but her brother Tolliver is on her side. So she's got someone who's definitely, got her back all the time, which Sookie doesn't always have.
True. Can you tell, for people who don't know, a little bit about the invention of that character?
Well, I became really interested in lightning, and I wanted to write something to kind of cleanse my palate before I started the next Sookie. I thought about lightning and the strange effects it has on people. Really interestingly, at least to me, quite a few people have been struck by lightning twice. Which is, either amazing bad luck, or just they're absolutely in the wrong place at the wrong time. Of course, most lightning strikes are in Florida, so watch out.
Yeah.
Because people go off there so much. anyway, I thought about lightning. I thought about, well, what if being hit by lightning gave this woman a strange ability? What if she had just come up from nothing, from a terrible background, from growing up in a trailer with a hole in the bathroom floor, you know? She finally found she had a way she could make a living. Though she has these problems left over from the lightning, her brother, who is not really her brother at all, but has been brought up as her brother, is her manager, her caretaker, her supporter. They're really everything to each other. And that was the relationship I wanted to write about.
I'm segueing again. Can you tell us your early work, poems, playwriting, does that inform your later work in any way?
Well, it was all pretty bad. I was never much of a playwright. I was a terrible poet. And then, too, I wanted to do something I could make some money doing. And unfortunately, the market for poetry is not, lucrative. And playwright, that's a really bad way to make a living for most people. So I thought novelist would be what I wanted to do, and it turned out I could do that. So that was really fortunate for me.
I just wondered if that sort of work that you did in that kind of training, a different kind of idea about language and
certainly writing plays is a big seminar in how to write dialogue. Because it's all spoken, and you have to make your words count. They have to be appropriate. They have to be evocative.
Okay. Also, this was I made a note because it's from a couple of years ago, I guess, the short story book I have of yours, Sookie Stackhouse short stories. But some of my students here know that I'm a big proponent of short stories and what writers, how they use them. And I wonder if you could talk about short story writing, which you continue to do, and you're in anthologies, and you put together anthologies.
I do. I co-edit anthologies with my dear friend Tony L.P. Kellner, and they've been quite successful. Though lately, I think because of ebooks, the sales have been going down for the trade paperbacks. So I'm not sure how long we'll be able to continue that. We've done 5 together.
But you can do them as ebooks.
We could do that as ebooks, and we may very well. I'm working on a deal about that now. But they're really writing short stories is a challenge that I haven't mastered yet. I think my best short stories are the ones that are not about my series characters. I wrote one that's called An Evening with Al Gore, and I thought it was just wonderful. It's in an anthology called Blood Light, and it's about an ecologically minded vampire group who dispose of ecological offenders by eating them. And I thought it was one of the best short stories I've ever written. I just loved it. So there are some short stories I feel like have actually achieved what I set out to do. But I am not the greatest short story writer. I am still working on it because it takes a really great skill set to write a very good short story. My friend Dana Cameron, any short story she writes, she gets nominated for everything. And she deserves it. And she's just a wonderful
it's a great
short
skill,
story
but I also
writer.
think it's a great place for writers to try their voices to stretch and grow, right?
Well, it is. I think every writer ought to at least try short stories because there's a limited market for them, but there's a market. And there are ways to get into print that don't require an agent. You can do blind submissions to the Mr. Writers of America anthologies. There are lots of different ways to do that. And I think if you turn out to be a great short story writer, it gets noticed.
I agree. I'm going to let people ask questions, but of course we will I just want to segue before that to talk obviously about True Blood and how it came about, and then I'll ask you for other things.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Well, I had an option on the Sookie books with one guy. He did not come up with the backing, the money, and the script in time. When he did find out that his option was about to lapse, he sent me a script that was, it was just awful. He was a real nice guy, but it was an awful script. So then when his option lapsed, I had 3 offers, which was absolutely what every writer wants, and it was really scary at the same time. And my agent is so conscientious that he made me talk to each one of these groups or individuals that was interested on one day. So I'm sitting in my room in Arkansas. We lived in Arkansas then, and I'm talking on the phone. I think this is just surrealistic. To all these people about what they saw the books, how they saw changing them into a movie or a television series or whatever, and they all seemed so enthusiastic and intelligent. But one of them was Alan Ball, you know. And I said, I kind of think I wrote about Alan Ball. And they just said, but you have to talk to all of them. And I said, oh. So I did. But Alan and I just, to my mind, hit it off very well. He's a Southern guy. He got the sensibility behind the books. He understood that they were funny and horrible. He understood the theme of the books. He's one of the most prominent gay people in Hollywood. And we just kind of got each other. Not that we're ever going to be best friends or anything, but we're always glad to see each other, and we have a cordial relationship. And he got it. He said, now do you see these books as a television series or a movie? And I thought,
What's the right answer here?
What's the right answer? Yeah, really. Is this a loaded question?
Yeah.
He said, I see it as a television series. And he said, what network? I said, HBO. He said, well, that's good because I like to do things with HBO because they're the shortest drive from my house. And I thought, I got the right answer.
Yeah. The TV show is a lot more graphic than your books.
Whoa, Nelly. It is a lot more graphic. And some of the things in the books that you know, but I don't spell them out because it's in the first person. It's like Jason is a horn dog, right? You know what a kind of person he is. But knowing that from hints I drop and seeing it are two very, very different things. Alan sent me the first episode, and I watched it by myself, waiting for my husband to come home. I called him and I said, we're going to have to move. But you know, amazingly, people were so happy that a local girl had made good that they didn't, even in the heavily Baptist area where I lived, they didn't say, oh my God, how could you do that? You know, they said, oh, we know you didn't write the bad stuff. Some of it I kind of did, but okay.
So you do have reaction from people about that?
Yeah, but not nearly as negative as I thought. I mean, I could see, you know, crosses burning on my yard or something. And it was just delighted.